You need to watch this if you struggle with unexplained mysteries. The story of the Sodder children is one of the most perplexing and heart-wrenching cases in American history. It has baffled investigators, intrigued amateur sleuths, and haunted the Sodder family for decades. The disappearance of the Sodder children is a case shrouded in intrigue and heartbreak. The Sodder family, originally from Italy, had settled in Fayetteville, West Virginia, and were well-respected members of the community. George Sodder, the patriarch, was a successful businessman, and Jenny, his wife, was a devoted mother to their 10 children. Let's dive into this enigma. The events of that fateful night have left more questions than answers, and the mystery remains unsolved to this day. On Christmas Eve 1945, the Sodder family's home in Fayetteville, West Virginia, was engulfed in flames. The fire broke out in the early hours of the morning while the family was asleep. George and Jenny, along with 9 of their 10 children, managed to escape the burning house. However, 5 of their children, Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny and Betty, were believed to be trapped inside. George and Jenny Sodder, along with 9 of their 10 children, escaped. The family was devastated, but their ordeal was far from over. As the fire raged on, George tried to re-enter the house to save his children, but the flames were too intense. He broke a window, cutting his arm in the process, but was unable to get inside. The fire department, hampered by a lack of manpower and equipment, arrived too late to save the house. But 5 children, Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny and Betty, were believed to be trapped inside. The fire was fast and furious, but something didn't add up. Despite the intensity of the blaze, no remains were found in the ashes. This was highly unusual, as even in the most severe fires, some trace of human remains is typically found. The fire was fast and furious, but something didn't add up. The Sodders began to suspect that their children had not perished in the fire, but had been kidnapped. Their suspicions were fueled by a series of strange occurrences and inconsistencies in the official investigation. No remains were found, and the fire had spread unusually quickly. The Sodders began to question the cause of the fire. They discovered that the telephone lines to the house had been cut, and a ladder that was usually kept at the side of the house was found at the bottom of an embankment far from its usual location. Additionally, a witness reported seeing a man at the scene of the fire taking a block and tackle used for removing car engines. George and Jenny were convinced their children hadn't perished in the fire. They believed that the fire had been set deliberately to cover up the kidnapping of their children. Their suspicions were further aroused when they received reports from people who claimed to have seen the children after the fire. Then came the strange reports. Witnesses claimed to have seen the children getting into a car with a couple shortly after the fire. One woman said she saw the children in a passing car while the fire was still burning. Another woman who ran a tourist stop between Fayetteville and Charleston said she saw the children the morning after the fire. She said they were accompanied by 2 men and 2 women, all of Italian descent. Witnesses claimed to have seen the children getting into a car with a couple shortly after the fire. These sightings gave the Sodders hope that their children were still alive. They began a relentless search for their missing children, following every lead and tip they received. Hope ignited, and the Sodders started searching. They even posted a highway billboard offering a $5,000 reward, a significant sum back then. Foul play seemed likely. The Sodders hired private investigators and even wrote to the FBI asking for their help. J. Edgar Hoover, the head of the FBI at the time, responded personally, saying that while he would like to help, the matter was outside the Bureau's jurisdiction. They even posted a highway billboard offering a $5,000 reward, a significant sum back then. Foul play seemed likely. The billboard became a landmark in Fayetteville, and the reward was later increased to $10,000. Despite their efforts, the Sodders were unable to find any concrete evidence of their children's whereabouts. George had received threatening letters due to his outspoken views against the local government and his Italian heritage. He had been vocal in his criticism of Italian dictator Benito Mussolini, which had made him some enemies in the local Italian community. Some people speculated that the fire and the disappearance of the children were acts of revenge. In 1952, a private investigator was hired and uncovered evidence suggesting kidnapping. The investigator found that the fire had been deliberately set and that the children had been taken by someone who wanted to harm George Sodder. However, despite these findings, the case remained unsolved. Sightings of the children were reported, but each lead ended in a frustrating dead end. The Sodders received photographs and letters from people who claimed to have seen their children, but none of these leads panned out. In one instance, a woman in St. Louis sent a letter saying that Martha was living in a convent there. George traveled to St. Louis, but was unable to find any trace of his daughter. The Sodders never gave up, despite the heartache. They continued to search for their children for the rest of their lives. George died in 1969 and Jenny in 1989 without ever knowing what happened to their children. They erected a memorial and kept the billboard up for decades. The billboard became a symbol of their enduring hope and determination. It remained in place until Jenny's death, after which it was taken down. The question lingers: kidnapped or perished? The case remains unsolved, a chilling reminder of hope and despair, forever etched in the history of Fayetteville. The Sodder children's disappearance is one of the most enduring mysteries in American history, and it continues to captivate the public's imagination. The case remains unsolved, a chilling reminder of hope and despair, forever etched in the history of Fayetteville. Over the years, many theories have been proposed to explain the disappearance of the Sodder children. Some believe they were kidnapped by someone who had a grudge against George Sodder. Others think they were taken by a child trafficking ring. Still others believe they perished in the fire and that the lack of remains was due to the intense heat of the blaze. What do you think happened to the Sodder children? Share your thoughts below. The mystery of the Sodder children is a testament to the power of hope and the enduring love of a family. Despite the passage of time, the case remains a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring quest for answers.